we're going to try this. We're going to hold that up against the ceiling like that. The trick is you got to get it up nice and tight. That's the thing with this thing. You know? Now you can gently paint in there. Hold that up there. You can see this isn't going to work very well. Okay, we're going to do just a dry run first. Here we've got our little tool here, our straight edge. And the thing is, you've got to, this is a little bit, it has a little bit of a flex to it. You've got to put it right up there, nice and tight to the corner of your ceiling and your wall. Then you're going to take your paintbrush with paint on there, and you're just going to run it across there like this. Now what I want to caution you is, this ceiling right here, if I put my straight edge on here, it's got a little dip to it, ever so slightly in the corner. Which means when I push this up, this is not pushed up tight, and it's going to be kind of difficult. See, that I've got this tight right here, this is loose, it's got to be pushed up there, and if I hold my hand over here, this side's loose. The idea is you should be able to put it right there and hold it up right in the middle. But if this is not pushed up tight, you may not be getting the paint up all the way. And if you've got a dip in your ceiling, you may be thinking you're cutting a straight line, and you might, but if your ceiling has a slight little dip to it, your line's not going to be perfectly flush with your ceiling. And I can see along this ceiling, there's all kinds of places where it's high, low, and that kind of thing. So you have to be aware of that if you're going to use this. Just wanted to point that out. We're going to go ahead and try it anyways and see what happens. Now you remember, I've got this little container. I said it's easy to hold on to it like this, to dip your paint and go. Well, that's if you're not going to use that straight edge. If you don't use a straight edge, you can dip right here and cut this in. Dip some more, wipe off, cut it in. Dip, back and forth. Well, because this is a container I'm going to use, I'm going to have to set this down on my ladder and dip out of that. I got to be real careful with that to make sure that it doesn't want to tip over. So in this case, if you have a little bucket that's a little bit bigger than my little container, that would be nice to use too. You're going to have to dip it in there, hold this up there, and that kind of thing. So, okay, you ready to try it out? Okay, let's try this out, see what happens. The paint color on the wall is almost the same. Well, it's a light yellowish Navajo white, and the ceiling's white, so I don't know if you can really see it too well, but I'm just going to hold that up there. I got a little paint on here. Push it up tight, and that'll push that metal edge all the way up there, okay? Now, kind of go back and forth, and I don't really have to worry about hitting the ceiling, see? There. Once you get about this much done, now you can move this and slide it over and do some more. There. That didn't do too bad. I can see where the wall had a little dip to it. There's the paint line is a little bit thicker right there than everywhere else, and you're going to get stuff like that if you just use this. But if you don't know, if you don't feel like you can cut in just by hand, try one of these and see what happens. The key is, and the trick is, see, I've just used this once, and I've already got a little bit of paint on the back edge. So you got to be aware of that, because once you move it along, if you do, this paint here is going to hit your ceiling. Now you've defeated the purpose. So every time you use this, you slide it along once or twice. Now you've got to get your rag out, wipe that off, or rinse that off with some water, back and forth, back and forth. That's the key to this whole thing. You've got to keep this back edge nice and clean. Okay? I'm not quite sold on this. It'll do in a pinch, but only a pinch.